your local no BS psychologist here, Psych Chrissy, coming to you live on your Tuesday night. I hope you're well. I hope you're ready for some awesome content from me tonight. And I suppose it's been inspired, as always, by my podcast listening. I always listen to different bits and pieces content-wise. Hey, Dave. Welcome to the broadcast. If you're watching Psych Chrissy live tonight, give me a wave, give me a like, absolutely give me a share, because you know the more you share my broadcast, the more opportunity I've got to get out there in the open and help as many people as I possibly can with my psych content. So just be mindful, guys, if you hear Chihuahua growling, it could be a possibility. I've given them chicken tonight for dinner. It's Strawny's last supper before he goes in and has his big operation tomorrow. So I thought I'll cook him chicken, but what that means is dog wars, because they both want to eat each other's chicken. So if you hear a fight break out, don't worry. It's just dog wars over chicken, and we won't get too worried about that. All right, guys. So I've been listening to, obviously, I love a business podcast, and I have listened to a few podcasts of late about acting on emotions. And I thought, I think it's a really timely time to, I suppose, present some content about trying to, I suppose, better manage yourself in a situation where you might be prone to acting on emotion. And I'm going to explain this in a way potentially that you may not have heard of before. I'm going to tell you about the way that I compartmentalize the mind into 3 separate parts to really get you to understand how the mind works and why sometimes we respond in a totally over-the-top emotional way, why other times we respond in a really sort of rational, factual, to the point sort of manner, and then other times where we can do a little bit of both. So to do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about the wise mind, emotional mind, and rational mind theory. And it's a very popular concept in psychology, because we like to explain to clients that pretty much all of our reactions are based on, I suppose, coming from a section of this mind. So we have rational mind, and I'll give you some characters to base some of this theoretical understanding on, because when I was doing group work in prisons, I very much explained this concept, and they seem to like it and they seem to understand it. So I'll do the same for you guys. So if you think of your brain cut up into 3 sections, you've got rational mind, you've got the wise mind in the middle, and you've got the emotional mind over here. Now, it's the same mind, but it influences reactions in different ways. Here we go, guys. Strawny. I knew this would happen. Oh, just ignore the... Strawny, come here. Goodness me. Chicken wars. So if you can think, it's the same person, it's the same mind, but it's the I suppose the position that we react from. So rational mind. For those of you out there, I think it's the Big Bang Theory that has Sheldon. So if you think of the rational mind as being the Sheldon. So Sheldon's very robotic, he's very factual, he's emotionless, you know, and when you talk from that frame or from that space, there's not a lot of emotion there. It's all rational. It's all sort of problem solved and mapped out. And that obviously can be a helpful space to be in, but not necessarily helpful if you need some sort of empathic or emotional response to a certain situation. So that's the rational mind. Over the other side, we've got the emotional mind. So if we think of this mind as being very similar to the Hulk. So over the top, overly emotional, can't be contained, full of energy, you know, and as you could imagine, in certain situations, that might be all good and well, but in others, absolutely not. That can definitely get in the way of maybe resolving some conflict or being able to think more rationally or come up with a solution if you're all full of the emos over here. So what we suggest is that being able to contain emotions, be able to respond in a more calm and measured manner, is that we want to get into wise mind. Now, wise mind really is the Buddha. He's the Buddha reaction. He's not overly just, no emotion, fact, robotic, but he's not, full of the Hulk and aggressive and over the top and out of control, so he kind of sits in the middle. So the Buddha can totally appreciate the emotions. So if you think of the wise mind as being able to acknowledge feelings in any given time, notice what that feels like, but also take some of what the rational mind has to say as well. Some fact, some process, so it's kind of being able to acknowledge the two spaces but come into a present moment focus. And this is really where we aim to be if we want to respond in more helpful ways and not be totally driven by emotions and not be totally driven by facts and lack of reaction and lack of empathy and emotionless sort of responding. So how do we get into wise mind? Well, there are a few ways to do it. And if you think I'm going to, I suppose, tap into, if we think about mindfulness-based practice. So that is the ability to bring yourself into the present moment and become more of an observer of your experience rather than a participant. So if we think about our ability to just ground ourselves, notice how we're feeling, notice the thoughts we're experiencing, notice maybe our environment and the sounds we hear and body sensations, and straight away we're distracting ourselves maybe from the emotion of the moment, maybe some of the judgments and some of the energy behind the emotion, and then we're not sort of sitting in a emotionless, rational sort of state either. We're being able to come back to the present moment. Now, that is a good way of being able to get yourself into wise mind, because wise mind really is an observer of a situation rather than a person that is engaging in judgment-based thought processes. Because as we know, once we start getting judgmental, like that person's mean or that person's being nasty to me, or, our propensity for emotion is heightened and we can get out of control. Versus if we're in wise mind and we're saying, I'm noticing that person speak with a really loud voice, or I'm noticing that person over there stomping around, or I'm noticing, that person over there, putting a book down really hard on the table, versus that person over there is having a go at me. That person over there is being really nasty. So you can see how being in wise mind and being more observational rather than judgmental can help us kind of de-escalate our emotional state, bring us down to a more grounded level, and enable us to think more clearly, potentially to aim for a better outcome. So that's a really sort of quick and easy way that we can get back to wise mind. If you are being observant, you are noticing how you feel, you are being an observer of thought processes rather than living your thought processes and believing them and everything that's coming into your head, and doing that in a really judgmental way, because we know that's what pulls people over into responding from emotional mind. And we can sit in the Buddha zone and feel the way that we feel without being overly reactive to that. Then we are sitting in wise mind. And that really is the aim, everybody, to becoming more calm and measured in our responding, and not always, acting from an emotional frame of mind or from an emotional state, or vice versa, really pissing people off, I suppose, without acting with any empathy or care or concern, and allow us to be present, be able to more effectively appraise what's going on in our environment and navigate a way forward. So there we go, guys. Getting into wise mind, it can be challenging, obviously, if you're sitting over in emotional mind and you're finding it really, really difficult. But just observe. What can I see? What am I feeling? What am I noticing about my thought processes? And that will much better place you to respond in a calm and measured way rather than acting from emotion. So there we go. It's a short and sharp one tonight, but a very useful one. And I encourage everybody out there to have a think about over the next week. Are there ways that you can bring yourself back into wise mind rather than become reactive in the moment to better manage situations, better manage relationships, better manage conflicts or any sort of situational stressor that is going on in your life? All right, guys, I hope that has been helpful. Just before I head out, on the post, as you can see, and in the alert tonight before the Psych Chrissy live, we are looking for some little yogis to come and participate in our mindfulness and meditation sessions. So if that is you, you've got a child that would benefit from learning some emotional regulation via emotional management, meditation, getting some Zen on, please click the link or tag somebody in the post who you think might have some mini yogis that might enjoy that program. Thank you for joining me tonight. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I will see you all next week.